Times are also becoming even more uncertain in the Netherlands. Opposition parties are calling for a snap election after the country's coalition government collapsed yesterday. Prime Minister Dick Schoof's 11-month-old administration fell apart when right-wing politician Geert Wilders withdrew his party for Freedom Ministers, citing opposition's lack of support over his tough-on-immigration policies. Jason Gaidola has more on the developments coming out of the Netherlands. Good evening, Jason.
Good evening, Manise. Despite leaving Dutch politics in a flux, Wilders says his exit from the coalition doesn't mean he's finished in office. He says he will attempt to become Netherlands' next prime minister.
Mevrouw Richardson is in het gebouw der Kamer aanwezig om de voorgeschreven verklaringen en beloften.
One day after its coalition government collapsed, Dutch politicians returned to parliament today to continue debates in the chamber.
Want het leven in Nederland en daarbuiten gaat gewoon verder en er moeten beslissingen worden genomen die geen uitstel verdragen.
Outgoing Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof says important decisions in the Netherlands and abroad must be made, right in the wake of right-wing politician Geert Wilders withdrawing his party for Freedom Ministers from government yesterday, ending a four-party coalition that lasted only 11 months.
No surprise at all, because it has been a mess all period that they have this government. I think there will be a new election and Wilders will be the biggest party, so he can control it.
The toppling was then followed by opposition parties calling for a snap election.
Nu een einde te maken eens een keertje aan die politieke carrière.
Sterker nog, ik ga ervoor om de volgende keer de premier van Nederland te worden, om weer aan de verkiezingen mee te doen en zorgen dat de PVV waar kan nog groter wordt dan ooit.
Wilders says once an election is called, he intends to make a bid to become the leader of the country. The latest breakup comes as coalition partners were not willing to support Wilders' ideas on halting asylum migration and other immigration policies.
He wanted a stricter rules on migration, and the other three coalition parties did not want to sign his 10 points plan that he presented there. They said, your party has the migration minister, so let her do it or bring your plans to parliament, but we are not going to renegotiate. But that was not what Geert Wilders wanted to hear.
Some Dutch lawmakers call his exit irresponsible, while few others praise the move, right at a time when an economic crisis is bubbling and the ongoing war in Ukraine.
He's worried that the basically policy inertia of this government is going to reflect very poorly on his style of messaging politically. And therefore, he's worrying that continued participation in this government is going to reflect poorly on his party in subsequent elections.
And it might have to do with defense spending. It might have to do with some cuts, austerity politics cuts. That Wilders thought this is not very good for my constituency, all this negative news on austerity, on defense expenditures. So I might find a way to get out of this cabinet.
Meanwhile, ahead of this year's NATO summit in the Netherlands in just a few weeks, NATO defense ministers were meeting in Brussels today, discussing military and strategic support for Ukraine against Russia.
These targets set out what forces and concrete capabilities the Allies need to provide to strengthen our deterrence and defense.
So far, 22 of its 32 members have currently met or exceeded defense spending by at least 2% of GDP. But now, many NATO leaders say that target is too low.
The expectation is that on the European side of NATO and the Canadian side of NATO, if we think that we can keep ourselves safe, sticking with the 2%, forget it. Yes, the next 3 to 5 years, but then we are in great difficulty, and the US rightly expects us to spend much more to defend ourselves with their help, but also to equalize, which is only fair, with what the US is spending on defense.
Despite the Dutch government's collapse, the Netherlands defense minister says it will continue with support.
We in the Netherlands have a new political situation since yesterday, but regarding international security, regarding defense, our support to Ukraine, the position of the Dutch government will remain the same. Our efforts will remain the same.
The political landscape in the Netherlands will take some time for a rebuild. Officials in the country anticipate the next election is unlikely to be held before this October.